Depressive disorder. Depression feels like living in a world permanently stuck in black and white mode without even a hint of color. Every day is just another endless Monday morning dragging on forever. Depression isn't merely feeling sad temporarily or having one bad day. It's an ongoing emptiness that feels like someone vacuumed all joy out of your existence completely. Everything you once loved, pizza nights, ice cream cones, or binge-watching YouTube videos, loses its appeal entirely. You either sleep all day or don't sleep at all. Eat everything in sight or starve yourself for days on end. Your energy level plummets to match that of a sloth lounging around on Sunday afternoon. Depression affects roughly 280 million people globally, and many don't even realize they're dealing with it. But if sadness becomes your constant companion, it's probably time to see a therapist who can help you cope better. Anxiety disorder. Anxiety is basically that stomach-flipping cocktail of fear and worry that's as unpredictable as springtime weather forecasts. If you've got anxiety disorder, you'd literally feel chased by an axe-wielding grizzly bear 24/7. Your heart pounding so hard it feels ready to leap out of your chest, palms sweating buckets as if gripping water balloons, stomach flipping somersaults worthy of Olympic gymnasts. Sure, a little anxiety keeps us alert when danger's near, but once anxiety starts messing up everyday life, it officially crosses into disorder territory. Suddenly, you'll spiral into panic attacks for no apparent reason at all, even on perfectly good days, and find yourself replaying past mistakes endlessly like some broken record player, while second-guessing yourself enough times to put Magic 8 Balls out of business permanently. Anxiety disorders affect roughly 301 million people worldwide. But thankfully, cognitive therapy techniques plus deep relaxation methods along with medication mean anxiety doesn't have to crash permanently at your place anymore. Eating disorder. Having an eating disorder is basically having an internal bully constantly whispering, "There's something terribly wrong with how you look." But this bully lives rent-free inside your head instead. Your relationship with food becomes toxic, like that ex who never treated you right anyway. For some folks, this means obsessively dieting until they're dangerously thin, despite already being skinny enough. Others binge eat massive amounts, then purge afterward through vomiting or abusing laxatives because their brain acts like that reckless party friend always pushing too hard until regret sets in next morning. Often rooted deeply within emotional issues such as anxiety, trauma, depression, low self-esteem, it manifests either as anorexia, a hunger strike against yourself, or bulimia, the binge-purge cycle. In fact, over 14 million Americans alone struggle daily against these destructive eating patterns. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. It's been 6 months since you woke up from a coma after surviving the car accident that claimed the lives of your wife and 2 kids. After what feels like forever spent in hospital beds and rehab workouts intense enough to make even the Hulk sweat, you're finally cleared to head home. But just thinking about stepping into a car sends chills racing down your spine. Your brain is basically hosting its own horror film festival, complete with screeching tires and shattered glass. Forget actually getting into a car. Simply hearing cars pass by feels like someone dangling a grenade above your head. And that's exactly what we call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's your brain's twisted way of saying, "Hey, remember that awful thing? Let's replay it on loop, just for fun." PTSD doesn't randomly pop up. It kicks in after experiencing something severely traumatic. And then any sight, sound, or even smell related to that event can instantly trigger sweating, panic, rapid breathing, or even fainting spells. One moment you're minding your business, and the next you're stuck in flashbacks and nightmares, starring you as the lead in your own personal horror movie. Bipolar disorder. Ever hopped onto a roller coaster at an amusement park? Then you might have an idea of what bipolar disorder feels like, except it's definitely not the fun kind with smiling faces and cotton candy. This roller coaster is more like having 2 completely different people living rent-free inside your head. First up is the manic phase, hyperactive, wild, and bursting with energy, like you've just won the lottery after downing a double espresso shot. You're ecstatic, unstoppable, and ready to challenge Mike Tyson himself to a boxing match. But just when you think life's great, the depressive phase crashes into you like a truckload of bricks or someone dumping ice-cold water on your head. Suddenly, you're Squidward from SpongeBob, grumpy, cynical, and convinced everything's pointless. These mood swings can hit fast without any warning signs. Sometimes aggression and violence even join the party. It's like your brain decided to play cruel emotional ping pong with itself. Scientists say bipolar disorder can be linked to genetics, brain chemistry, or life experiences, and it affects around 40 million people worldwide. You can't catch it like the flu or simply snap yourself out of it. Schizophrenia. Remember having an imaginary friend as a kid? You'd talk to them all day long even though no one else could see or hear them. But eventually you realized they weren't real. For someone with schizophrenia, though, that imaginary friend is as real as any living person. They see them clearly, hear them talk back, and interact with them even when nobody else can. Schizophrenia also brings vivid delusions, like believing you're secretly an undercover agent tasked with saving humanity from imminent doom. It's like playing two truths and a lie, but never knowing which one's actually false anymore. Your mind is basically a radio constantly switching stations, one moment tuned into reality, the next picking up signals from another universe entirely. Unfortunately, about 1 in every 300 people experiences schizophrenia without any known cure yet. But early diagnosis, combined with therapy, antipsychotic medications, and self-management strategies, can greatly improve quality of life. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD. Imagine attending a circus where acrobats flip mid-air, clowns juggle colorful balls, tigers leap through flaming hoops, all happening simultaneously around you, making focusing impossible. That's exactly how ADHD feels. A wild three-ring circus permanently performing inside your head, where thoughts whirl around non-stop thanks to hyperactive ringmasters refusing breaks between acts. Paying attention, staying organized, controlling impulses become nearly impossible tasks because mental switches stay permanently flipped on bombarding brains, continuously exciting possibilities, simultaneously explored eagerly, akin kids let loose candy stores, unlimited allowances style. ADHD affects between 129 million to 366 million globally across children, teens, adults alike, with types including inattentive, short attention spans, hyperactive, impulsive, unable, sitting still, talking faster than auctioneers, caffeinated. Combined ADHD mixing both types, creating energetic, easily distracted babies lacking volume controls altogether. Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD. Imagine standing in a crowded room buzzing with laughter, jokes, and conversations, but somehow the punchlines keep slipping past you, leaving you feeling stranded on an alien planet, totally disconnected socially. That's the daily reality for people living with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, a neurological condition that significantly alters communication, interaction, and how the world is perceived. Having ASD means your brain runs on slightly different software, processing information at a slower pace, fixating intensely on details others overlook, struggling with social cues, eye contact, or basic humor comprehension. Yet at the same time, you might possess laser-focused interests, extraordinary creativity, or photographic memories sharp enough to recall exactly what your second-grade teacher wore on the first Monday of October. Autism isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. That's why it's called a spectrum. It affects roughly 1% of people worldwide. There's no medical cure yet, but behavioral therapies, educational interventions, and medications can help manage anxiety, irritability, and hyperactivity, often accompanying ASD. Sleep disorder. According to the World Sleep Society, about 45% of people globally suffer from sleep disorders, with insomnia taking center stage as the most common culprit. Imagine desperately trying to drift off into dreamland despite utter exhaustion. But instead of restful sleep, you're stuck futilely counting sheep because your brain decided to throw an uninvited house party without inviting your body. Alternatively, narcolepsy sufferers find themselves uncontrollably dozing off during daytime hours despite getting plenty of rest at night, awkwardly nodding off mid-drive, mid-cooking session, or even mid-job interview, interrupting enthusiastic responses with spontaneous snoozes. Meanwhile, sleep apnea resembles having a built-in snooze button malfunctioning nightly. Your breathing stops momentarily, causing freight train-level snoring. Left untreated, it can become seriously dangerous, like repeatedly hitting snooze one too many times. Sleep disorders can also manifest as sleepwalking, sleep talking, or even secret nighttime fridge raids you'd embarrassingly forget by morning.